All right, folks, it's broken record time. For those of you who follow me on Twitter, for those of you who have been for a while, you know this is a topic I take up anytime I see it. I want to thank Tactical Review for posting it. Great account to find firearms reviews and such. But this is one that I don't have the ability to ignore. Now, according to this post, we are just asked, when is the USA going to quit acting like 50 separate pieces of territories and start acting like a nation? When someone can cross state lines to purchase firearms, that's a loophole that can be addressed by nationally implemented and enforced laws. When people can buy guns within their own state without checking and verifying of someone's background and ID, that can be corrected by a federal requirement mandating that all gun transactions go through background and ID checks. The USA is one nation, not 50 separate territories anymore. The USA needs to get with the program. Well, how many more must die? Let me educate you on a few things. One, we'll look at Chicago specifically, where the common argument is they just go to Indiana and buy the gun. When you go back to Illinois and back to Chicago, it's a crime. Because they didn't make it a crime to buy, they made it a crime to possess. So if you cross state lines, that's not a loophole in Illinois law or in Chicago's rules. It breaks them. You become a criminal. Plain and simple. And we have a background check requirement. I live in Texas, a state many people still describe as the Old West, where everybody's got a gun. Yet Texas has fewer gun crimes than Chicago has, and that's a city. Big one, yeah, but not near as big as Texas. I have not bought a firearm that did not require a background check. I have used my father's rifle, but it's his. He passed a background check to buy it. Plain and simple. My father bought a 22 long rifle, and for anyone who's ever shot a gun, 22 long rifle, the bullets are about that big. They literally are about as big as my eye. Tiny little things. These are generally known as plinkers. You go out and shoot cans with it, or maybe you shoot a rat in your garage with it. They're dangerous because they are a firearm, but my 45 has more power than that. It's a pistol. My 9mm has more power than that. It's a pistol. It's very simple. He had to pass a background check to buy it. You cannot legally purchase a firearm in the United States without having a background check run through NICS. The problem is, NICS is broken. To demonstrate that, we will look at Sutherland Springs, where a crazed man who had been dishonorably discharged from the U.S. Air Force killed many people with an AR-15 until he himself was shot by someone who had an AR-15. Had the U.S. Air Force properly reported this dishonorable discharge and had it been registered in the NICS database, he would have been a prohibited possessor in the state of Texas and thus ineligible to purchase a firearm. It was not properly reported, and thus the system that is in place that requires a background check did not work because it's broken. Another law saying you have to go through a background check will do nothing. Fixing the system that is checked will. It will not accommodate or affect me in one way at all, in any way. Because my record says that I have 0 convictions or 0 instances of anything that prohibit me from possessing a firearm. But this is never about, it will never be about addressing criminal activity with firearms. It is about registration of firearms held by law-abiding citizens, which will lead to confiscation. A national registry is illegal. Very simply put, it is. We're not going to be registered like cattle so that we can then be disarmed like sheep and then ruled as peasants. People like this need to get their brains back together and use them. The Second Amendment very clearly states the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed by a rote examination of that, there should be zero laws. I have no problem with someone who is a violent felon or a crazed madman, mentally ill, being told, we're going to make sure you aren't a threat to society. You lose rights when you're a criminal. When you become a felon, when you do something that the military says, you're being kicked out, and we're going to put a mark on your record that'll make it hard for you to find certain jobs. You lose rights. You murder someone, you lose the right to life, in my mind. Very simple. But crossing state lines to a more lax state is not a loophole. Because as soon as you return to your state, it's a crime. Because that state, Illinois in this example, has not made the purchase of such a firearm illegal. They have made the possession of that firearm illegal. So if you move a little bit to the east into Indiana and buy that firearm, stay in Indiana. Because as soon as you bring it back, you're a criminal. I don't know how else I can say it. We don't need more laws. We need to enforce the laws we have on the books. We don't need a law that says, and I quote, this is exactly what the original bump stock ban a couple of years ago said, and I quote, any device which may increase the standard rate of fire of a semi-automatic firearm is banned. This is a device that can increase the standard rate of fire of a semi-automatic firearm, according to that bill. It does not, because a semi-automatic firearm fires one bullet when you pull the trigger. I don't care how long you hold it down. Super glue the trigger down. It will not fire another bullet. You have to release the trigger. A bump stock, not properly seating the rifle against your shoulder. A belt loop allows the kinetic energy produced by the firearm when it fires, because as we know, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. It pushes the weapon back. So if it does, and you don't properly seat it against your shoulder, or you've got your finger through your belt loop, the trigger is pushed away from your finger, allowing it to release. When you then pull on the barrel, it moves the trigger forward, impacting your finger to pull the trigger. You are fully releasing the trigger. You're not increasing the standard rate of fire. Standard rate of fire is still one trigger pull, one bullet fired. I hate bump stocks. They're a waste of bullets, they are a waste of accuracy, and they are dangerous in my mind. But if you want to ban them, ban by name. Don't ban my belt loops or my fingers because some idiot politician decides they know more about guns than people who know a lot about them. I guarantee you, with some exceptions, very few, I know more about guns than most members of Congress because they depend on the men paid to defend them with automatic firearms to use them. They don't. I can guarantee you, I could walk to any range and prove that with a revolver I can fire 30 rounds real fast because I'm going to have 5 revolvers that are all 6 shot. And I'm going to fire 6, drop it, fire 6, drop it, fire 6, drop it. I know police officers who, with the use of speed loaders, can fire 6 rounds, eject all the spent casings, put 6 more in, put the chamber back in place, fire 6 more really fast because they've trained to do it. It doesn't matter if you have a 30-round magazine or a 6-shot revolver. Training allows you to use your firearm in certain ways. I'm very good with my firearm because I go to the range and I train. I do so because I enjoy competition shooting. I enjoy competition shooting more now because I win when I compete. Because I train and I learn everything I can. Especially the rules of firearm safety. 1. Never point that firearm at anything you don't intend to destroy. 2. There is no such thing as an unloaded firearm. 3. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. 4. Obey the range master at all times. I've watched range masters walk up, rip a firearm out of somebody's hands, and ban them from the range for life because they broke one of the cardinal rules. And I support that fully. That range master is God on that range. And it's because they're charged with the safety and security of people using said range. They're also very knowledgeable. When I have bought a rifle that I've not used or not used in a while, or when I get a new optic for a rifle, I have a couple of ranges I go to because I know the range masters. And I'll ask one of them who's not managing one of the ranges if they'll help spot for me to sight that rifle in, to zero in the scope. They'll pull out a spotter scope, they'll sit right with me, and they'll tell me I'm high, I'm right, I'm low, I'm left. Didn't even hit the target. And it's invaluable. I've learned more from them than anyone else in my life because these are people who do it day in and day out. And they'd agree with me on this. This is total and complete crap. Current regulation and law in Illinois prohibits the possession, not purchase, possession of certain firearms. You travel to Indiana, you travel to Ohio, you travel anywhere else, and purchase that weapon and bring it back. You're a criminal, you broke the law. It wasn't a loophole, it was a crime. Very simple. You buy a firearm without a background check. Sorry. It's not allowed. Federal law requires it. So how about we fix enforcement of the law, not pass another law that won't be enforced? But I've talked long enough. Let me know what you think. Keep it classy, keep it civil. As always, I do not even engage with people who jump to ad hominem or personal attacks. I just block you. Also, find me here, Sheepdog Smokey on Twitter. Also, check out Tactical Reviews. I'm still getting used to working backwards. Check out Tactical Review. Great place to learn about firearms, knowledgeable people. And, I mean, there's really not much more I can say on this. Make sure to like and subscribe so you stay up to date. I've got something special I'm recording in a bit that I think you'll like. Should be released. I'm going to make sure it sounds right and looks right. But should be released in the next day or two max. Until then, you guys have a great weekend.